This right here is the one long conversation with your pal, Skip. Hi, we're back again. And today, this is a good one. We're going to talk with an amazing friend of mine named Anna Campbell. We're going to talk about her new film, Nora, which she wrote, directed, produced, and starred in, which includes all the singing as well. It's a beautiful film about what it's like to go to the big city and pursue your dream, and then have it not work out the way you want it to, and have to go back to the town that you escaped from in the first place, and raise a child while simultaneously keeping your spark alive. We talk about that. We talk about a lot of stuff because she's incredibly fun to speak with, and you're about to find that out now. We're recording. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Skip. How are you?
I'm really fucking good. How are you?
I just love hanging out with you. I feel like that's like how I have to start. Do we get to tell everybody how we fell in love?
Sure.
So here's how we met. We were both invited to go to a screening of what would turn into a phenomenal movie. And we don't have to name it, but I really do. I think it turned out beautifully.
Oh, that's great.
And both of us just basically had a lot to say. A combination of compliments of all of the best stuff and real ideas about the things that weren't working and how to fix it. And from across the room, this manic, gorgeous, like, I fucking like that person energy just like developed at the expense of everybody else around us. And we were just enthusiastically telling everybody what we thought. And I feel like that's the basis of our intense friendship and love for each other. Is that right? Do you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We pretty much owned that Q&A session because we just kept coming with the stuff. And it was so funny because I'm saying what I'm feeling, and I'm sitting like 12 rows up and towards the middle, and you were towards the back in the corner.
Yeah.
And I would say something, and then you would immediately say something. I'd be, yeah. And the whole way through, we were just like, yeah.
It was a yes and experiment at its most fully realized. And like, but to meet somebody like that, so I could tell immediately you had obviously deep intelligence, but also talent and the eye that I think that a lot of filmmakers and artists think that they can skip in favor of just the ideas. And I just respect that about you so much. Like in it to win it together. I think that's, that's where all this comes from.
And it was so funny because then I'm walking out and I'm walking past you and you're like, we need to be friends.
Literally, I was like, you and me, that's it. And we both knew the person who had brought me there. So it ended up very easy to sort of make the connections. But I'm really grateful for that being the introduction to each other, because it just like skipped a lot of the, any tentativeness just got to go away. And neither one of us feels the need to be a tentative person. So it's really lovely to establish like a relationship where you just go straight to here's the good shit.
Absolutely. No, it was so funny. And again, knowing how your mind worked and how well it worked. And again, I was just sitting there going, man, everything you're saying is just so astute, and you're killing this because the movie needed help.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely. And they knew it and we knew it. But I think we also, in that yes and, don't you think we had an idea and then we'd be like, and then this, and then this. And it was almost like we figured out what they needed to hear through the bouncing off of each other. And that to me is where the best art happens, right? Is in community, as in a group experiment, in, not feeling so tied into your own ideas. While we are going in it fast, this makes so much sense. This is so us, right? But that's it, right? Like the more you can work together and listen truthfully, the better the art will be at the end of the day, period. And the more the ideas matter at the end of the day.
Of course, it's really helpful if the people you're asking give a shit and have a clue.
Oh gosh.
So I mean, it's like I don't venerate feedback from people who are just going to piss in the well.
Yes.
So do you think that what we said was helpful? I mean, did you see any of that shit in what they did?
I know that it did, and I know because I got a call from the filmmaker after. It was like, I wanted to clarify a couple of the things you said. And genuinely, we had some comments about the way voiceover was used. They cleaned some of that up. We had some comments about letting the imagery stand for itself because it was really spectacular and
so beautifully shot.
So beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
just a spectacularly, gorgeous thing. And when you have images that clearly tell the story, you don't need to tell the story on top of telling the story. You end up dumbing down what you're doing for the audience. So yeah, no, not only did they, but it made me feel warm-hearted that we, in our first loving conversation together, right?
Yeah.
Like helped another fellow artist who I was meeting for the first time. I don't know if you were.
I didn't even get to meet the artist.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah. I was just going, we have to talk about this character.
Yeah. What is that thing? Yeah, they rewrote entire characters in there. They recut entire storylines to suit a lot of the things that we said. Yeah. Anyway. Point
being, what a great way to meet somebody.
Right. Just the actual best. And I feel like there've been so many times since then that I've been like, whose opinion I need on this? It's Skip's. That's who I need. That's really all I need in this world. Right. So anyway, love you.
I love you. Yeah. And any chance we get to talk is just the fucking best.
The best.
And the other thing is we had no idea who each other were or anything about each other. So you had no sense of my history. I had no sense of yours.
None.
And it was just like, oh, but you're cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We were talking earlier about like how reputation can precede you. And I always very carefully. So one of my day jobs, because it turns out you don't always make millions being a brilliant artist.
Nope.
Right. So one of my day jobs is coaching actors, which I love to do because I get to meet the person who's truly opposite me and figure out what they need and how to help them. And, in that process for me, there's such a moment of like, okay, what do we need to do here and today? And I feel like, I'm just going on like tangents about how much I like you. That's really all it is.
Oh no.
Right. But I feel like, presented with the thing actually opposite you, that's how far you can get for the day. And I always feel like you and I get farther than we often get to with people because we're willing to stretch beyond the boundaries of our comfort zone. I think that's where I was going when I started that story. I'm not sure now.
Nice. Although I was really interested in you teaching, helping other actors act better.
Yeah, that was how I actually came to directing in the first place. I don't know if you know that.
No, please.
Yeah.
Let's discuss this because again, I had no idea that you were directing films. Although the second I heard that, I was like, well, yeah, that makes total sense because you know your way around the specifics of actually directing. You understand what goes into it, the kinds of thought, the kinds of people you have to work with, the ways in which you work with them,
Yes.
how story works, how these things were unfolding. It was really, really fun to talk and then just to go, oh yeah, of course you're a filmmaker.
Right. That's actually exactly where I was going though, was I don't look anybody up before I work with them. I don't. Like, obviously I've been presented with the work that I know. I've been either presented with the audition that we have that day, or I have some previous knowledge, but I never stalk someone online. I don't look up their IMDb credits. I don't try to pretend I think that they're, I don't try to pretend to know who they are. I just deal with the thing that's opposite me. And I think that, but that was, I started my career entirely as an actor. That was all I ever wanted to do. My deepest passion. Clearly a big need to heal in there, some need for understanding of sense of self that I didn't come with. Like I inherently knew who I was, but I wanted to explore her to her fullest.
Yeah. Who all she was.
Who the heck is that lady? Right. And so I had gone back east to school and then realized I really was not an East Coast person and moved straight back to Los Angeles. So I spent most of my formative young adult years in LA doing the film and television thing. And let me tell you, it's not precisely the best place to be figuring out exactly who you are.
Oh, no, it's a great place for other people to tell you who you are.
Other people to tell you who you are, who you definitely should be, who you're clearly not like, right? And I don't have any regrets about my time there at all. I think it was really, really interesting for me. I learned a lot about it. I learned a lot about sort of the toughening up and the going and doing it anyway part of it. But when sometime during that, I started coaching actors as my day job. and accidentally, I was told, I didn't realize this at the time, but I was working all the time and I loved it and I had so much fun, and suddenly became the most requested coach at the studio. Wow. And I couldn't have told you why at the time, but I think it was this idea of, I'm dealing with the thing in front of me. I'm dealing with this set of sides. I'm dealing with this human being. Yes. And that was when I realized that I was combining a lot of different things that actually were directing more than I was just being an actor, right? Yeah. I don't know. Like, for example, did you know that only half of people when they read a script see images? Did you know that?
I never heard the math out loud.
And I read that statistic probably on an Instagram meme, so let's be really careful about how, but the idea that anybody didn't, for me, was completely baffling. Like, when I get a script in front of me, like, you know, and I've read your writing, when I get your script in front of me, I'm like, I see exactly how this would be shot. This is where it's wide. This is where it switches to a medium. This is where it's like an extreme close-up, right?
Even if you don't say it, which I never do, you know,
you don't,
I don't put that shit in there. But what you're trying to do as a good writer is like paint the picture so vividly that they're going to see it.
And not just so vividly that they're going to see it. And only good writing does this, by the way. You read a shitty script and you know immediately that you can't see the pictures because you can't figure out what the story is that's being told.
Right.
But my favorite thing about writing for film and television that's not done in theater writing is that they write in an emotional switch in the form of an action. If any writer in film and television writes an action, they're saying, something has changed.
Yeah.
Right. We don't decide to make a sandwich unless we're like, I need to remove myself from this conversation. I don't understand what's going on. Or stand up and walk across the room unless we're exasperated by the conversation and need a new point of view. Right. And I just love that that's a way that we can sort of indicate to people, you make the decision about what the switch is, but in order to tell this story, there must be an emotional turn here. There must be emotional growth, turn, development for this character.
Or at the very least, some shit is getting set up that's going to happen to them, whether they change or not. You know, I was just working with somebody, with a friend, developing their script yesterday. And one of the big things that she was wrestling with is that her main character, it's like, based on a true story, never really changed. And it's like, so how do you build an arc for this person? And I'm like, you don't. That person doesn't change. They are an immovable object. The people around them change. They make things happen that change the story. But dead center, this person knew exactly who they thought they were and was going to impose that on everybody, and nothing was ever going to change that.
So
it never did.
So it's a tragedy about someone who's unable to make the changes necessary to turn it into a comedy. Is that true?
But at the same time, the person also had some wonderful qualities that also didn't change.
Yeah.
So basically what you have is a complicated person with some really good shit and some really bad shit that never stops being exactly themselves. And everybody's sort of like, what is it with this person that you know, that there are certain forces of nature. There are certain people who are just like that. There's nothing you can do, and there's nothing you can say, and there's nothing that anybody else can do or say either. They are just this thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's interesting.
It is interesting. And that's actually the exact formula for traditional network television, which is all but dead, you know, now. But it is. No, it totally is. Right.
Yeah,
you show up every week.
Learns anything. Yeah.
Never learns anything. Because you want to be, you're like in it with them. You're like, oh yeah, I've showed back up, and Lorelai's she's gonna make the exact same mistake she made last time, right? Like Gilmore Girls, right? Every single one of our favorite network television shows. I find this really interesting. The idea was you would tune in once a week to just hang out with your friends for a second, and then, you know, go back to your regular, and then once a week you'd hang out with them. And what's happened, the reason that the formula itself has changed, fun fact that I just made up right now, because of binging television, because of streaming, we now watch 8 episodes of something in a row, or even 2 or 3, or we can watch an entire season in a week. That's boring as anything. And I'm not saying the script that you were working on is boring if everybody is in turmoil trying to get them to change, and then, oh God, they don't, right? That's interesting. But you cannot turn in for the same thing week after week after week if it's all in the same week.
Yeah, you can't do it 10 times in a day. It's like, wow, yeah, this person is just sitting there.
Yeah.
I actually just watched season 2 of Dead City, one of the Walking Dead spinoffs.
Oh, okay.
And it's the one that involves the horrible Negan, the worst and scariest guy of the Walking Dead.
No,
and,
I had to turn it off. I got really scared. I had just had kids when the show started.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, couldn't do it.
But he was the guy with the barbed wire baseball bat
Yes.
that made half the audience go fleeing. He's got he and the wife of the character he murdered in that circle have their own show set in New York City. It's called Dead City.
Yeah.
And it was pretty great. I really liked it a lot. The thing is, Negan was like the immovable object for so long, but at this point he's gone through so many changes. Yeah. And he's still not somebody you want to fuck with.
Yeah.
And there are moments where there's a moment in the second season that teases him right back to the place where he was when he made this woman hate him for the rest of her life. And it was fascinating because it was psychologically adept, astute. It was psychologically astute. It really understood this guy and who he is and why he goes there. And the writers and the actor spent the time required to build this extraordinary character and keep him riveting. I mean, there is never a moment that he's on screen where you're not like, what the fuck is Negan going to do next?
Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Isn't it so? It's so psychologically true. As humans, we don't learn the lesson the first time. If we're making the mistake, we're going to have to cycle through it a couple more times. And this is much more commonly told in a female story, right? Because we understand that women, move in cycles in a very different way than we think of the male trajectory of up and then down.
Right.
Right. But it's very true that psychologically, you're not going to learn that lesson once. You're going to do it this way and you're going to fuck it up. And you're going to do it this way. And maybe you'll fuck it up slightly differently. You'll do it this way and be like, oh yeah, I did fuck it up that way that time. And then it's not until like, who knows how many cycles that you're like, I shouldn't do it that way ever again. Right. I love that about us.
8 trillion times later, maybe we a little light bulb goes off. No, it's really funny. A good friend of mine who kept making the same mistake had just made the same mistake again, and they got in their car and started driving. They turned on the radio, and Steely Dan's "Do It Again" came on, and they're like, "This is too on the nose," so they changed the channel, and it was on the other channel.
Shut up! Oh my god!
It was like that scene in The Man with Two Brains where Steve Martin's character is just like,
yes.
I'm doing the wrong thing, show me a sign. All of a sudden the wind blowing, their voices, everything's flying around, and then stops and he's like, just a little sign anyway. Jesus.
Oh, humans. Yeah, that's either the stuff that's out of a horror movie or that's out of like a rom-com, right? It's one of the two, right?
Yeah. Which brings us to one of the most exciting new developments that I've seen in cinema, which is the horror rom-com, which is an actual thing. I don't know if you saw a movie this year called Companion.
Yes, I did.
And then another movie called Together.
Yeah. Did I see Together? No, I didn't see Together yet. No, that's the Alison Brie and Dave Franco one, right? Yeah. No, I didn't see that one yet. I was really excited too.
It's great.
Yeah. Great.
And the thing is, they're both I think body horror rom-coms, where relationship problems are physicalized to an extremely alarming degree.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much.
It's cool.
It's so exciting. I love that a horror movie must deal with a fundamental sin, right? With like a human problem and error, right? And the idea that we could do that with love, which is the thing we're the most obsessed with, it's sort of hard to believe that we haven't attacked that yet. Are there other examples that you're much more like, I love the horror genre, but you're like the master of the horror genre. Are there previous examples or is this new?
Well, I mean, I watched a documentary last night about James Whale, and when they were talking about making The Bride of Frankenstein, it was like, I think an argument could be made for exactly that right there.
Sure, of course.
And yeah, I bet if we look at it, we could build a convincing paper trail or cinematic paper trail through the ages of where relationship. I mean, it wasn't a lovey-dovey relationship, but the relationship between author and fan, which was definitely a love relationship on one side, is everything that misery is made out of.
Totally. Yep. Obsession, all those bits. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they say there are no new stories, right? So we are just reiterating to some degree, but this is actually something I'm a little bit obsessed with because I still think there's more to say.
Oh yeah.
I feel like our modern world, my first film was a very loose adaptation of Ibsen's Dollhouse because that story stuck in my head and really annoyed me. And I needed to retell it for me. And I feel like as soon as we recognize you don't have to revolutionize something, you just have to tell your version of it. And that will be revolutionary.
Yes.
Right. Like done. Great. Fantastic. Although you're kind of a revolutionary, but one thing at a time.
and the fact of the matter is, I do think there are new stories that need to be told. They're going to be told out of the same barrel of monkey ingredients that we're made of, right? It's still going to be drawn from the human condition. And the human condition has not changed that much in all of recorded history. Literacy, technology, various other things, helped hurt. Were part of the changing arc of stuff, but the fundamental emotions, my late dog had, love,
so
fear, et cetera. But I do think that there are new stories to tell, and I think that we better get fucking around to it because some of the stories we're telling each other are just not helping at all.
Preach.
Let's do more revenge stories. What do you say?
Let's do 16 more of those. I don't know. The re-release of I had a real moment with the re-release of Tarantino's Kill Bill, right? Parts 1 and 2 combined. What do they call it? They call it, the big event or something like that. And I am not anti-Tarantino, although he stuck his foot in his mouth several times in the past little bit. Like, what are you doing? Don't be nicer. You don't need to be this mean. But God bless him. He is an artist that has made some incredible art. Like, not going to knock that part of. Yeah. I think we have to be able to separate personality from outcome. We can talk about that ad nauseum too.
Yeah, but I wrote about it this morning.
Brilliant. See, we're on the same wavelength again, like always. But I was annoyed that someone would think that there was 5 hours I could spend in the movie theater, albeit like a totally worthwhile endeavor, when there was all of these new movies in Oscar season coming out and we're mourning the death of the theater and not going to see in the theater the newest movies that are out right now. I just couldn't comprehend it. And look, I try my best. I really do try to single-handedly save it, but I'm a mom and I don't get to go to the theater more than a couple times a month.
Right.
But that's apparently a lot compared to what a lot of people are doing. And this art form is meant to be seen on the big screen, with other people in community, having a shared experience that we can then discuss and negotiate afterward.
Yeah.
But I think that I wonder if, to the point of same story, new iterations are necessary. I wonder if one of the things that we're doing right now as we've moved through our ability to record history is that we're getting down into a tinier and tinier and tinier, nitty gritty of what the human experience is that can be captured. Does that ring true to you at all?
Elaborate just a little bit.
The hieroglyphics are blunt story. Here's the thing: war, these many goats and ducks and pharaoh and water, right? And they're beautiful and spectacular and have been preserved through history. But now we have these 18,000 bajillion pixels, just on this one terrible webcam alone. And so the amount of detail when you and I record a podcast is even more refined than the kind of detail that was recorded by the cameras and the sound for Gone with the Wind. Right. And not knocking that, but our requirement now has an attention to detail and precision that what I'm obsessed with is, what does this do to our audiences? Right? especially those of us who really want to go deep into what the human condition and story is. Are we alienating them by going that deep? Are we expanding our options by going that deep? Are we like reaching out to a smaller group of people who's willing to go as far as we are? What do you think about that? Because with distribution being completely in trouble right now,
yes, massively.
I want to know who we're talking to, how to get to them, and why they must know. And I think all of those things are true, by the way, just bluntly, right?
Yeah. No, okay, so I will say that in terms of the amount of pixels and the technological refinements, most people will never even notice that stuff. They look at a picture and they see a picture. Depend, if they look deeply enough, they'll see stuff, and if they don't, they'll just see the thing that's there. A lot of people are not thinking about that part of it too hard. What they actually care about is characters they give a shit about. Because if you are interested in the people, you'll watch them you'll watch them do just about anything. The old joke about I would watch that actress read the phone book.
Yeah.
I actually watched a great actress read the phone book once, and it was riveting.
It was awesome. I love it.
Yeah, Susan Tyrrell.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy. But past that, the old saw of like, we are now not just competing with other films, and not just even competing with television. We're competing with games. We're competing with TikTok. We're competing with every fucking thing.
Yeah.
And reality is barely in competition because everybody's walking down the street looking at the goddamn phones. Yeah, I guess the trick is so much of what it seems to be going towards is community and stuff that will actually matter to the people that you care about in ways that maybe will be helpful in not necessarily as in, and here's your cooking tip, but it's like helpful as in making us feel like we're not alone, and which was the whole point of art in the first place.
Yes.
And so I mean, one of the reasons that I even started doing this podcast was like I want to do something with to reinforce community that already exists and community that doesn't know it exists but actually does. With all the friends I've never met yet, but I would totally be friends with the second I met them, like for example you.
Yeah.
And to do it on a local level and to do it on a macrocosmic, national, international, extraterrestrial level, if they're listening. You guys are listening.
We know they're listening. We just can't figure out why they have nothing to say back. Yes, we can. We're a bunch of idiots. It's so
yeah, I think they have nothing to say back because they're like, you guys, did we have a good conversation yet, or are you still in the throwing spaghetti at the wall phase?
You still think that's how small particles are, aren't you cute? Right? You'll appreciate this. I had the best conversation with an 11-year-old who's like an obsessive science nerd, like the most wonderful kid, like super, like, did you know, like every single fact and every single detail. Yeah. And I will admit that I was like, okay, you need to, okay, just right. So I went, did you know that science and God are the same thing? And he went, what? I was like, yeah. Well, what is science? Science is trying to figure out an explanation for something that's so scary that it's unknowable. And he's like, yeah. I was like, and every single second we think that's the smallest particle there ever was. Oh, no, wait, we found a smaller one. Oh, we thought that was the best drug. Oh, it turns out this one is better. Yeah. That's just religion. That's just God. That's our experience of we must, as humans, figure out the answer. So science is God and religion is science. Well, and science is religion is God. And he was like, I disagree fundamentally, but that was fun. I was like, great. Yeah. I mean, if that's as far as the conversation goes, you planted the seed. Planted the seed, baby, and that kid's going to be sitting there going, yeah, science God thing. Interesting. I'm with you like a trillion % on this. I mean, science. I think shocking.
Science, you're right.
You and I agreeing.
So science is us trying to figure out how, and religion is us trying to figure out why.
Yeah, but I think it's also, I think both of those can overlap too.
All
right?
the time.
Science, yeah. Where did we come from? I don't know. There was a dude and there was a big moment. It was light and it was dark and there were some animals. And now that's all still sort of true, except, you know, we have a lot more specificity. The pixels have gotten smaller, right?
Mhm.
But I don't like to separate them because I really, truly love science, but it does not explain everything for me. And
No.
so if I'm to live in a world where I only listen to science instead of believing in magic with my whole heart,
Mm.
I'm still scared. And I don't want to live in a world where I'm living in fear all the time. Because you know what? It's bad enough as it is right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I want to believe that there are forces out there that we can't understand that are trying to put things together in the way that they're supposed to be put together, or trying new experiments, or seeing what's going on and caring deeply about the result.
Right.
I need that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a magical story I'm telling myself, I don't care.
Well, magic is well, story is metaphor, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so we're trying to explain life to each other by showing life happening under fantastic circumstances that we conjured. You know, when you're making up, when you're doing fiction, you are creating a story that didn't happen in order to you are telling a story that didn't happen in order to explain how things work.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of it is like the secret aspects, which is where the magic comes in. The shit that what's the Arthur C. Clarke line? Any sufficiently developed technology is indistinguishable from magic. But yeah, the mystery is what we're attempting to solve, and all of it is an attempt to solve that thing, because we are puzzle solving, pattern seeking creatures.
Yeah.
Trying
for our safety and security. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And also for fun.
Yeah.
So
do you talk a lot on here about the projects that you're working on and why? I mean, what do you like? What is the current obsession for you right now?
Well, I mean, I got a couple of movies I'm getting ready to make, and I shouldn't talk about either of them.
That's totally fine. I know a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm mostly just killing time between now and then, and this is one of the having great conversations is one of the best time killers I know.
But I don't know if it's just a time killer though, because you said something really important earlier, which is this is your way of putting these conversations and the sparks of all these ideas like out there into the world. And I think that is another way of making art. I think it's beautiful that the podcast world, that the curiosity of conversations just between other people has become a part of our art form world. I obsessively listen to, all of them. I love them. So yeah, let's not pretend you're not making something here. Look at you.
Oh, no,
making
magic. I know that I am, but it was a completely impromptu thing. I wanted to talk with my friend Laura Lee Barr about her incredible new novel. And I just wanted people to know about it. So I interviewed her, and at the end of it was like, that was so cool. I should do this more often. And then I was just like, oh, fuck, I'm going to do this more often. And bankroll a bunch of them, and then if things go as planned and I'm off shooting a movie for a couple months, I will just be releasing these on the time release formula.
Yeah.
And so the conversation will be ongoing. And again, it's connecting people. It's connecting me with people, and hopefully other people with other people. I mean, it's fun. It's just fun. I'm a big fun fan. Now, to try and answer a question that you asked about.
Sorry,
12,
I get distracted. Yeah.
No, we're riffing. I think that there are new stories we need to tell each other. And one of the things that I really, really am feeling very strongly about is that this whole one person will save us myth has got to fucking go. That there has never been one person that saved anything. The last one person who wasn't just a narcissistic sociopath wielding ungodly power they have no right to, was like maybe Jesus, and we killed him for that. So you know,
and what he was trying to do was to get a community behind him to say, hey, let's do things better and actually be here for each other. And then
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the point of the one guy who could save everything was not, I'm the one guy who can save everything. It was, we need to get together and open our hearts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, one thing that I can say is that I am thinking a lot about community-centered stories where it's like, it's not one person. I love ensemble casts, and I love the idea that it's people coming together that make things happen, not one person waggling their finger while everybody else like bows and prays or obeys. And so I'm thinking really, really hard about how to do that. And actually, aside from the 2 movies, the TV series that I'm working on right now is that.
Yeah. We've been fed a really bad, consistent, one-sided myth of the hero's journey in Western culture. Because it is a uniquely male perspective, right? Like I was saying earlier, someone introduced this idea, and this is within the last 5 years of my life, that someone was like, well, that's the male hero's journey, right? I was like, I'm sorry, what? And this idea that the women's journey, we have to cycle through, we have to go through destruction, we have to get to a point of complete destruction before we can build ourselves back up again. It's much more cyclical, communal. You always have to have friends helping you on the journey. Whereas, Odysseus goes off and single-handedly slays all the monsters, leaving a wave of destruction in it, behind him.
Right.
And then finally gets back home and everyone's like, there you are. Right. No woman could do that without everybody being like, what you just fucking did? What? How dare you? Right. And that she also wouldn't do it without at least 3 other like badass women behind her. And I think that matriarchal lineage has been deliberately destroyed to some degree in storytelling. And you are not the person who's doing that. I want to be also very clear about that. Right. What you're talking about is the community that comes with, we are not okay if we don't have each other.
Yes.
Right. Like we can't protect ourselves against the monster if every other person besides ourselves individually is a monster. It doesn't work.
No. So yeah, I mean, what part of it is the cultivation of the parts of us that are not monstrous, so that what's the story? There's 2 wolves in your head. There are 2 wolves in your heart. This one?
No, no. Tell me.
Okay, so I believe this is I wish I could attribute to the proper Native American tribe, but basically the grandfather is telling the kid or grandmother is telling the kid there are 2 wolves in your heart, and one of them is trying to, one of them carries love and cares about others and is part of the grand design, and one of them one of them is selfish and monstrous and devours all that it comes in contact with. And the little kid asks which one wins, and the elder says, the one you feed. It's like, yeah. So basically what I'm saying is I want to feed the nice wolf. We all know what the bad wolf can do. And I mean, if we weren't crawling with bad wolf heart, insincerity and duplicity, greed, and monstrous horror, I wouldn't write horror stories.
Yeah.
I'd be writing something else. And as a matter of fact, need to do more of that as we go along. But I do think that the horror needs addressed, and one of the reasons that I went in that direction in the first place was to show that I could recommend higher and better things without being a candy ass who is in complete denial about how horrible fucking things are.
Well, and having experienced some horrible shit yourself, right?
Sure.
If we don't find a healthy way to admit that those stories exist, we ain't going to protect the next generation. I was auditioning. My 11-year-old now likes to run sides with me for auditions, which, because I still love auditioning, even though I, think of myself now primarily as a director. I still love getting to act. And I was auditioning for a really beautiful script from a local director, and it was a horror movie. And she ran it a couple of times, and the second scene had some very subtle, spectacular, gorgeously written nastiness in it.
Right.
And at the end of it, we ran through it one time. She's like, "Great, I've had enough. That's enough." And I was like, "I totally understand that, right? But I want to stand up for why this genre exists. And we got to talk about Grimm's, and we got to talk about how these were protecting children from, going out into the woods unnecessarily, or trusting the stranger, or any of these things. And, the ability to scare someone out of behavior that's not in their best interests, and trust your gut implicitly when something doesn't feel right, to not run up the stairs when you're supposed to run out the front door, right? All of those bits.
Sure.
Like, of extreme value. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Exactly. Right. Fire burns. Things that are hot are not to your favor. Right. All of these things. So, I'm on board with, like, horror is not just of extreme value, but it's how we keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
By understanding darkness is real. Right? Like, bluntly so.
Yep.
So,
and in that sense, it is survivalist fiction in that it is the fiction of worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
And it's like the one genre that is designed to address the damage.
Yeah.
So that you can then face it and decide what you're going to do with it. Which doesn't mean that you should take all the examples of horror movies and go do that, because that would be the stupidest thing ever suggested. But there are, when you watch people negotiate their nightmare badly, then they are giving you examples of how not to do it. Yeah. And when you watch somebody do it well, you go, I might be onto something there.
Yeah. Oh gosh, 100%. I'm also obsessed with the idea in horror that in film in particular, right, there's this idea of the character who's been wounded by the thing before, right? I don't know how much you work with this guy, but there's the person who warns you against going into the forest because they know from firsthand experience that it's hard to get back out. Yeah. And then invariably the person who chooses to go to the forest again gets saved by that person at this, or, entity or whatever it is, at the sacrifice of themselves later on. It's so brutal, right? That it takes literally multiple people learning the same lesson in order to keep the next one safe.
Yeah.
Which is why we watch the damn movies. Yeah.
Well, and also, men may be perceived as not cyclical, but they are.
Yeah. Yes.
This all is. It's all cyclical, and we have to learn these lessons over and over because generation from generation has to pass it along. Otherwise we forget there were Nazis in World War II.
Apparently we've forgotten. I don't know how that got disappeared so fast, but apparently we've forgotten.
At this point, World War II seems as far away as the 1850s felt when we were 10.
Yeah. Because it is. Yeah. It is. I remember with deep sadness when my grandfather passed, one of the hardest things was realizing all the stories that he had told me at some point, right, left with him, and only my secondhand recollections of them still remained. And I regret it as a filmmaker and a storyteller. And I think I have one, I sort of illicitly recorded one conversation with him late in his life, but my God, the man was half of what I know now is because of his experiences and listening to things he wouldn't talk about versus the things he would talk about. And I know, I was married to a German for a long time, and they only tell the stories of the successes. Yeah. They tend to tell the stories of the people who fought against, right, the resistance stories, as opposed to admitting to the difficult parts of it. And I find that understandable from a human standpoint, but also really painful and difficult.
Well, yeah. I mean, what was The Zone of Interest? Did you see that shit?
No, I haven't yet. No, I can't.
Yeah, no, it was the domestic story of the family that lives next door to Dachau, right? Yeah. And you're having the ladies' luncheon while the smoke is billowing out of the smokestack from the crematorium next door. Yeah. You want to talk banality of evil. But on the other hand, you talk about things being lost. Now, I don't know if you are inclined to believe in reincarnation or not. But I look at you and I go, this is not your first rodeo, and I know it's not mine. So it's really interesting. Now, if it's not reincarnation, is it cellular memory? Is
Yeah.
it, our ancestors still live in our DNA, and give us messages from there? And then, of course,
Yep.
you can bring in the multiverse and all the other things. How many Annas are there across the multiverse?
Yep.
Like even right now in the same second different universe. Who the fuck knows? We're not going to get answers to these questions, but the fact of the matter is, these stories resonate. Old stories resonate if you are tuned in to the deeper layers. If you made friends with your subconscious and opened yourself to the vast collective unconscious, and blah 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 blah. I mean, it's a big old universe, and our lives are huge.
And I don't know. I haven't like formally like landed on a single belief system, but I am positive that if I combine my love of science and my love of the idea of magic and God, that if for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, if nothing ever disappears completely, there has to be a universal connection, whether that's a consciousness, whether that, and that time is a creation that helps our brains to organize the information as opposed to a firm fact that can't be, it's not immutable, right? It can't be. I think that to be an actor or an artist in the first place, you must be curious what it was like to be the grasshopper last time around.
Yeah.
Right. Like when I was in probably 5th or 6th grade, I was like, I think that the best idea here is that we get to try to be each person once.
Yeah.
And each animal once, and maybe a rock occasionally. And what would it be like to be that tree for a second? And so whether or not that actually physically happens, it helps me love everybody more to wonder.
Sure.
What it's like to be in that set of circumstances and to live through that difficult of a truth and to have experienced, horrors that I can't experience. I'm not going to pretend that those things aren't real. I'm going to be curious about how I got so lucky compared to somebody else having a really difficult time. Like, I'd rather give someone the opportunity to feel hope that they can have a life as charmed as I believe mine has been, right? By saying your story is equally as valid as the rom-com, right? Like, does that
totally? No, that makes total sense. And I feel immediate love and connection with anybody who's trying to be a blade of grass. It's just like, wow, you are stretching outside the normosphere here. You're not just taking this at surface value, because the surface of the Earth is fascinating. And again, all the science, all the geodes and the atmospheric conditions, the bottoms of oceans and everything else is absolutely fascinating. But if you only see the surface, then you're kind of like what Oscar Wilde's definition of a cynic. It's like knows the price of everything and the value of nothing.
Yes.
It's one of those situations where it's like, oh, dude, you can scratch a little under here and it gets deeper. It's more interesting.
Yeah. Well, and we wouldn't be here without the trees and the blades of grass, right? Like, we need them for our oxygen production. So if we don't think that they're just as important as we are in the way this whole thing goes, I mean, it's no wonder we're going to blow this thing up. It's, and I don't want that. And I will fight against it tooth and nail, mostly because I have children and I believe they should have an opportunity to like have a shot at this thing. Am I deeply hopeful for it? I don't know. That's a tricky one, right? This moment in history and in time. Humanity is sort of sucking right now, at least in the place where I live. And I find that not specifically Portland. Portland is actually doing better than some. But I think we're
frog suits.
We are known famously for our frog suits. How cool is that? God bless us. Cool. It's super cool. And, I think we are at the end of this pioneer trail here, we're always going to be a little bit a part of we're going to think about this differently and choose a different path. And, white man wouldn't have settled here if there wasn't something magical and special about the way that people had lived here for many generations before us. And I really do love that we have And I'm going to be very, very lovingly cautious here because
Yes.
I am proud to be in a place that still respects a lot of the stories and history that came before people that look like me arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really lucky to be in these mountains that have stories that I got to learn that helped expand my consciousness of what the stories about how mountains came to be exist. And I think that we, in this like new world where we don't have old things, we get to actually look at the truly old thing, right? We're not Europe, right? We don't have buildings that humans have made hundreds of years ago. Like literally, we just keep knocking down the old shit, mostly because we built it poorly. But that doesn't mean that we're knocking down our history. It means that we are actually looking at the things that came before us as more valuable than anything we could bring to the mix.
Wow.
So I'm proud to be from here, I guess is what I'm saying. And I think it's the reason that I ended up back here to a large degree with deep respect for the fact that I'm still an interloper, right? Yeah. I don't know. So that got big, but
no. Micro, macro, micro.
It's really true though. When I escaped from Los Angeles in the middle of the pandemic to, run back home and hide, which is genuinely what happened.
Yeah.
The amount that I reconnected with a sense of self just by being in the place where I had started my life was shocking, right? The sorts of, I think I was running away from that part of the story and now I have to address it. And, even in the film that I made, one of the major things was, what does it mean to choose to return home and to not totally be sure that it's the right choice to make?
Right.
And to do it anyway, and to actually, come in conflict with the things that were always difficult about it.
Yes.
And, no place is perfect, and Portland ain't no exception. But I feel like it wants to contend with the mistakes in a different way than some of the places that I've lived which have loved to sweep them under the rug, proverbial rug, the desert rug.
If not blow torch them.
Just burn them down. Yeah.
So I think that this would be a really good time to talk about your movie.
Oh, okay.
Just because that was such a natural segue. So yeah, you made this movie about a woman coming back to her hometown and what she does to blossom inside this decision, and you wrote it and you directed it and you star in it and you sing in it and yeah, you basically steered this thing into being, and it's beautiful. So why don't you talk about your movie a little bit? Just a couple of minutes.
Just a couple of minutes about all the nonsense I put myself through to make art happen. Well, I absolutely like to start this conversation by saying, as much as it sounds really impressive that I did all of those things, and those are the jobs that I did, but no movie gets made, especially at the quality level that I don't know why my first film, in my opinion, managed to hit, without the most amazing group of people.
Yes.
For some reason, choosing to believe in you and in the value of your story and bringing their insane artistic talents to be a part of it. Films in particular, and I feel the same about theater and maybe music also to a degree, although I think there's a lot of things that you can do in a much more uniquely solo way in that medium. But film, you can't fucking do by yourself.
No.
And I got so damn lucky that for my first project, which was insanely personal, insanely painful, insanely vulnerable and emotionally risky for me, to have people who just plain loved up on me come and stand up for me. So I feel that that's important, because that list of credits is more about the length of time it takes to get something across the finish line to completion than it is about feeling ownership of something in any exclusive way. It's a group activity.
Fair enough. That
said, the story of me is so I think I said earlier, in college at one point, we were taught the story of Ibsen's Dollhouse, and the proverbial story about it is that when it first premiered in the very, very late 1800s, The title character Nora, at the end of the play, after epic amounts of utter nonsense go down, and she's been desperately trying to hold it together and present this perfect example of what her family must be like, having made some perhaps moral choices along the way. She gets up and she goes, I can't do this anymore. And she walks out and the door slams behind her. And the final moment of this play is what they call the door slam heard round the world in theater circles. And I remember being like, well, yeah, I mean, everyone's being a dick to her. Like, of course she has to leave. Like, there's no choice, because it was, 2000 or, 98, 99. And I was a modern woman. And if you needed to just like not be in the circumstances you were in, you could get up and walk away.
Right.
And it really bothered me that there was still this sense that, no, she's not allowed to, that sort of drifted through, and that wasn't what we were being taught. We were being taught, oh, look at how incredible this feminist thing was and how it moved feminism forward. But fast forward 20 more years after that, I've got my own children. The pandemic has hit. And we knew we needed to leave Los Angeles and go back home. And to be fair, I had already written the script before I left. The script was written out of the fear of what would it be like to leave all my dreams behind and choose to focus on the family and my children, putting them truly first at the expense of all of the things I've set myself up to do professionally.
Right.
To leave the city behind where all of the industry is, all of this. So in the film, she's a singer-songwriter. She's not an actor, or in film specifically, mostly because I think it's hard to tell yet another story about an actor, and music is such a visceral experience of an emotional truth, right?
Music is doing something other than going, I am an actor.
Yeah, and I think that the power of a song boils down an emotional truth that is more universally able to be shared, right? It's pretty hard. Well, I can go into caveat all day long, right? Like, it's pretty hard to share a piece of music, at least culturally, within a specific area. We'll say that, right? Without everybody having a similar background of experience with it, right? If it's atonal, it's this. If it's in a minor key, it means this. If it's in a major key, it means this, which is why I say caveat. You do, 12-note scales and everything changes. So I wanted to explore it like that. So she comes back home, she gives up everything. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know a single artist for whom they can give up on the actual dream itself. No. And since she's a singer-songwriter in the film, anytime something big and emotional happens, she has a run-in with her mother. She has to deal with the, PTA moms at the new school. She, comes into contact with the people she's known at past points in her life. Instead of it just being a scene, it turns into a song, which turns into a music video, which is a way of her reclaiming both her sense of self and healing through the process of Nora making her own art.
Yes.
That's the most long-winded way I've ever described my own film, but I feel like in the context of our conversation, right? The short version is Nora, who's a singer-songwriter, moves back home to suburbia, leaving all of her dreams behind, but her dreams don't give up on her. So, right, that's the practiced version of it. But for me, getting a chance to truly explore that story while I was going through feeling abandonment of myself and my dreams, hilariously prevented all of those things from happening, right? Launched a whole new side of my career, a much stronger sense of self.
Yes.
And gave me contact with the moms who are looking for sense of self through the process of also adoring their children and wanting that to be a job they also do well.
Yes.
That I did not have access to. I thought I was completely alone in that journey by myself before I shared this story, and people are like, thank you. That's exactly me.
Yeah.
So, I just can't wait to do it again and explore the next thing I'm exploring, and, examine the next thing that's going on, because I think it was really fucking fun to go that deep and do something that hard and risk that much and be that bluntly honest about the messiness that is and was and will always be me. That's the power that art has to share that. It makes it okay somehow. It just makes it okay for other people.
Yeah. And it, again, just it reminds them that they're not alone. Anybody who can relate to any part of that. And because it's all honest and it's all, true.
Yeah.
Not just based on a true story, but based on the true story.
Based on it's like this much removed from reality. It's just like this far away from the actual, right? Like, but I think that is magic, and I think, you know, there's a lot of construction in it, especially in the music video part. I didn't realize until afterwards, and I don't know if I've told you this, but someone's like, where did you come up with all of those, you know, crazy ideas? And I was not original. So there's 6 original music videos interspersed throughout the entire film. So really, there's a full soundtrack, and every time a song comes up in the context of this is where the origin of the song was for her, right, it turns into a full MTV, you know, style music video, a whole unique story on its own.
Yep.
And I wasn't originally going to direct them. I didn't think I had that kind of imagination available to me. And then all of a sudden, Kevin Fletcher, my DP Fletch, called me up and he was like, so those music videos, because we'd shot the rest of the movie, when are we going to do that? I was like, yeah, I have to figure out who's going to direct those. And he's like, well, Anna, what do you see? I was like, oh, well, you know, on this one, I see this as this. And I suddenly realized I had like detailed stories that had popped into my head about every single one of them and knew precisely what the emotional moment for that character was at that point. But also that if I turned that storytelling over to somebody else, it would no longer be true to the main character.
Exactly.
Right? It had to come from me. And that each of the music videos dealt with an image that had been fed to me as a woman that had fucked with my head.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them, for example, is a 1950s housewife, right? Everything looks perfect at the beginning, but then she feels a desperate need to smash the kitchen, right? Yep. Break all the eggs, right? Set the cake on fire, right? Reclaiming that image of like, I'm supposed to be this perfect housewife, and yet I feel a need for destruction, right? Mm-hmm. And one of them, I turned myself into a mannequin to go hang out at the party with all of the other mannequins, and literally everybody else in the music video is a mannequin. Yeah. And, you know, we shot it to make the movements look like, you know, she was actually mechanical and really trying to fit into, you know, an environment that was not hers. Yeah. And
completely artificial.
Completely artificial. And in fact, the sort of styling of the mannequin of Nora was kind of based on like the Kardashian extremes of rearranging our bodies to fit into some beauty ideal that does not exist in nature. It's been completely crafted by the beauty industry. Right. But thinking that if we didn't do that, there wouldn't be a place for us, like literally at the party. Right. You know, the very first video, and it is the romance novel, but instead of chasing the man through the woods wearing the beautiful red dress, she's actually chasing her own autonomy, and she's actually turning and going on her own path and not following the red carpet of what's expected of her, but choosing her own path. And every single one of them is a version of that. That was motherfucking empowering. I mean, to not even consciously do that and to realize afterwards, it's like, oh, no. You can't ever look at the cover of a romance novel again and not think of my music video where she doesn't end up with a dude. Right. Like, good job. Right? Like, I'm so fucking proud of myself.
And I mean the fact that you realized that you were the one who had to do it, and that in fact you could, and that doing it was going to be some of the most fun you were going to have. It's just awesome. But then the other thing is, the only other big song is the one that you two do live.
Yeah.
And that is the Bring It All Home, and that is like the pinnacle of the film.
Yes.
You know, for me, for sure, I was just like, oh my God, this is so good.
Yes. It's my favorite song in the movie too. It's everybody's favorite song in the movie. It's not even totally deliberate, but I will say my amazing musician, Noah Harmon, dear friend of mine out of Los Angeles. We have kids exactly the same age. We sat together and like drank bourbon on our patios while just like writing this soundtrack. Fantastic. Like the most fun. Yeah. And just like Nora in the movie, except with people. Right. Yeah. And he said, this one has to be the one everybody walks out singing. Like all the other songs have their place and have their bit, but this one has to be the banger that everybody cannot help but remember because it's the simplest, right? It's just the purest expression of an emotional truth. You don't need all the other bells and whistles and, you know, traps and, you know, all the bits.
No, it's 2 voices and a guitar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, just such a good song.
Thank you. And Nick Fink just brings it home. He had to take all the melodies, all the harmonies, because I wasn't as adept at finding them as I had remembered being back in my choir days. Like again, like this idea that people truly lent me their voices to help tell my story. I got really lucky. I got really lucky.
Absolutely, but they did too.
Wow.
And the thing is, yeah, your voice had to be the one down the middle, and he had to grace it from both sides, both from the guitar and the harmonies. That's what was supposed to happen.
You're right. I never thought about it like that. That's correct, right? And so the film teases what is the relationship between these two characters in a very careful way, because I fundamentally believe in the power of male-female friendship, right? Truly the ability for platonic friendship. It's one of the most valuable things in my life is my relationship with men who I feel completely safe with and don't need to ask the questions that every movie thinks we need to ask every time a man and a woman are in the same fucking room together.
Right.
Like, it's not the only question. And so Nora sort of casts him as the muse, right? And the idea that there's a male muse for her music to be able to come all the way into existence.
Yep.
I don't know if I've seen that represented, at least not like that before.
Nothing's in mind.
Right. And so again, new stories being told all the time. See? That's
yes. There you have it. And what did I had something I wanted to say. I think it just flew out of my head. I'm sure it'll be back, or it doesn't matter.
It happens to me all the time because we talk so much in so many different directions. It's so good.
Yeah, no, yeah. It is all good. Oh man. Okay.
Too much goodness. It's too many good things. It's too many good things. Anyway, I got to release a movie. I got to self-release a movie over the last sort of 18 months. And it's so hard, you guys. I mean, like, if I can speak to the broader experience of whoever might listen to this, I'm not going to pretend that that was easy, but I could not be more thrilled to have done it the way that I did it, right? With distribution where it is right now, and with the difficulty of rising to the top, I got to take the risk that my film, you know, with a platform that was solid, could find its audience. And I didn't sell it for less than I thought that it was worth. Mm-hmm. I maintained ownership of it. I maintained ownership of my intellectual property. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's maybe, you know, if we can do anything as artists right now, it's hold on to what you believe in, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that. Maybe that's a question to throw to you, because
no, I mean, like, if somebody, you know, if I get hired to work on something for somebody, mm-hmm. they own that shit.
Yes,
and that's fine. And I will, you know, they pay me right, and they give me something that I really want to do, mm-hmm. and that's all cool. If it's mine, I do want to own it, and I do want final cut, and I do want to decide how I get it in front of the eyeballs of people, and I do want to decide what it means, and not, you know, it's like again, I was watching the James Whale documentary last night. I'm a big Preston Sturges fan. There's just, you know, all the people who were raised up and crushed by the industry, for whom they were momentarily a very interesting wave, and that they were more than happy to let crash when they were done with them. I mean, I was a disposable artist for Bantam Books in the 80s and 90s, where I wrote several bestsellers that sold a million copies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then when they were done, and that was it. Yeah. And I have never gotten over that betrayal.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't want revenge, but I'm trying to tell newer and better stories that with my life, while I'm telling stories that I think are that might be useful as well as ornamental as well.
100%. Look, there are ways in which the place where art and commerce meet can be extremely powerful.
Yeah.
I believe right this second we're in a truly detrimental version of it. Mm-hmm. I think that as our how we have to be so careful to say this, because in perpetuity, I do want someone else to sell my movies at some point. But the thing that we ultimately got rid of that I think is damaging art and commerce both, mm-hmm. is we used to reward the artists with a piece of the pie at the end of it. We used to say, if your film does well, there are bonuses, there are back end points, there is a little piece of this thing that you made that you will always be rewarded with. Because guess what, you fucking idiots? This thing would not exist without your artists.
Yeah.
You actually can't buy art without investing in the artists themselves. And so when anybody comes along and they don't offer you a reward if the people watch your thing or listen to your thing, and they pay you less and less and less and less and less while their profits rise and rise and rise and rise and rise, of course the quality struggles massively. And I hope that there is a world again, because there have been glorious points where where commerce has supported art,
yes,
as opposed to art being designed to enforce commerce.
Well,
yeah.
I just got to say, we are now officially 1/4 of the way into a new century. We should not be surprised that the things of the last century are not holding in the same way that nobody should be surprised that in 1946 the horse and buggy was not the preferred mode of transpo.
Yeah.
We don't know what the new shit is yet. A bunch of people are inventing a bunch of stuff. A lot of it looks scary as hell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't know. And I think a lot of the news stories are going to come out of the new technologies, and they're going to come out of the new social rearrangements as certain forces bring the fucking wrecking ball in to take down as much of what we've built as they possibly can and try to shove as much of it into their pockets as they can on their way out the door. Yeah. Other things are going to form because they have to. Because we are a scrappy species, maybe even scrappier than we ought to be, considering how much of the rest of the world we're prepared to scrap. But the fact of the matter is, we are. I would tell you, I met Buckminster Fuller.
No.
Okay, same weekend I got stoned with Stephen Hawking.
Oh my God, what a good weekend!
At the World Symposium on Humanity in 1977. Up in Toronto.
You're my hero. Just keep going now.
But it was absurd because I was just like a long-haired kid that nobody knew at all. But I just happened to be like wandering through this thing, looking for ways to save the world.
Yeah.
And I had just been on the college campus where the thing was happening for maybe 20 minutes, and I wander into this parking lot as a couple of cars pull in. And a couple of interviewers and cameras come out, and then Bucky comes out. Buckminster Fuller, maybe like 80 years old, Coke bottle lenses on his glasses about this thick, right? And I instantly recognized him because I was a huge fan of spherical geometry and the world game and all the things that he was doing to try and help. Yeah. And they asked him about the world game, which at that point in 1977, according to his projections, we had like 10 years left before we would cross the threshold from which there would be no return. And that was 1977.
Yeah. So we're on the other side. We're on the other side of that. Yeah.
Everything's fine. Yeah. No, but the thing was, he's like, okay, yeah, this is where everything is looking, but you have to understand that we are a very adaptable species. And then he went on to talk about how towards the end of the Second World War, the Nazis were freaking out because they ran out of rubber for tires for their trucks. How are they supposed to go and attack everybody, kill them, and take everything they had if they didn't have any rubber on their fucking tires? So what do? They invent synthetic rubber. And then they're able to keep going until all the other terrible things that they misunderstood brought them down to their knees and ta-da. But his point wasn't, and that's why the Nazis are great. His point was, even the worst of us will come up with ways to try and pull shit out of the fire.
Yeah.
And if they are capable of doing that, the rest of us are maybe capable of pulling ourselves out of this fire. And I think that if he were still here, he would probably be saying the same things. He'd just be 100 25 years old now, or whatever.
Old enough to know better, anyway.
Oh, yeah, we're old enough to know better.
I mean, I do think, yeah, this moment in the human species, we are in that place where people are hoarding resources, right? And you know, but that's the beginning of the French Revolution. So, you know, I'd like it to be a little bit less bloody than that was, but I think that we all know that this idea of community coming back in, and that the artists are the ones who are currently the most obsessed with it, we're on to something, because it's the same thing all over again.
Hey,
So,
cycles.
right, it's cycles, and we love our cycles, and we love the stories, and we love telling, whether it's an old thing, but it's certainly a new version of the old thing, right, in a way that will grab the current group of people who need to be reminded of their basic humanity.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, fuck it, what a great job. Even if it doesn't pay very well right now, it's fine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how few of the jobs pay as well as they did, and then certain jobs pay everything.
Yeah.
Elon has $1 trillion job offer.
It seems like enough dollars. I don't think you really need any more than that. And like, what are you gonna do with it? We just have to make up more dollars so everybody else can eat. Like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. But I do, you know, I hope I didn't come to this phase of my artistic journey until I was in, you know, very much the middle of my life.
Right.
And I just hope that I survive long enough to set up the next generation on the path for a kind of success that I may not achieve, just because of, you know, that like sort of Malcolm Gladwell outliers, like, you got to be in the right place at the right time. It's not going to stop me from continuing to do it. It's not going to stop me from telling stories. But my God, I want to see the beginning of the new thing starting. I want to see the power actually reaching the people who need to hear the stories again. I'm excited for that, and I want to be part of that, at least that part of the revolution. I probably won't guillotine anyone. I promise.
Well, the fact of the matter is, we don't know when the moment comes, and we don't know what the moment is. So we just keep doing, and then the moments will come as they come.
Yes.
It's just the way it's going to be. Wow. Do we have anything else we want to talk to? That seems like we just took a really nice tour.
The inherent problem with you and I is we could keep doing this all day long, but it does seem like a convenient place to stop this particular conversation. Although everyone should know we're probably going to talk for another 4 hours after this. That just seems like the way you should understand us together as a duo.
And we should come back and do this again some more.
Anytime, Skip. I adore you.
I adore you too. It's so good. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording, and then we'll be done recording, and then we can do whatever we want.
Okay, sounds good.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Boing.